Oh, there we go.
Now you're on.
Are we live?
I think we're
Hi,
live.
everybody.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Barely afternoon, like
Definitely
15 seconds afternoon. And welcome to Table Talk. I think.
Are
Does
we
it say
live?
we're going, Chuck? Chuck says we're going. Amy Bartlett is visiting her family back home in South Dakota this week, and so we have a guest producer slash director. So it's Chuck Kleinhagen. Say hi, Chuck.
Hi.
Yay, Chuck.
Chuck is. Oh yeah, it says we're on.
It says we're on.
All right, everybody.
I
Now
trust 'em.
we do it every week. Click on it. Let's see if I can not start like
Share
a
it.
share.
Right.
Maybe.
Post.
Is it gonna work?
Post. I did it.
Did you do it?
I think.
Share. See, why does it keep doing this? Okay. Share. Right posts. It's like we're walking everybody through how to share something on Facebook. So, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about words.
Words.
I
What?
missed- I missed
Hashtag
your
what are the
sermon.
words?
I missed your sermon live, but I watched it after the fact. And I realized that my family never did really play Scrabble. You said you did, but I don't.
Oh, I love Scrabble.
Yeah, so everybody, like there are some people who are super serious about Scrabble, and you did the whole dictionary thing and all that. Like, I gotta say, I kind of get it, but not really. You said different letters have different point
Okay.
values, is that right?
So,
Like the more frequent the letter, the less value.
yeah, the less
it is?
value it has.
Okay, kind of like the Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, but you add all the letters up at the end. You have like squares, so when you're putting them on
Yeah,
the space,
right.
it's like double letters. So if you have an S, it's worth 2 points. You get 4 points for it. And then if it falls in like the double word or triple word, then you
Yeah.
add it all together, then double
You
or
mean
triple
just
it.
like the space on the board says triple
Yeah,
word?
or double
Oh.
letter or double word or yeah,
Uh-huh.
there's all kinds of so depending on and then of course when you can do like so say you did a word horizontally, right? But it was under another word, and that in that word you made a word horizontally, and then it also made a word vertically.
Uh-huh.
Well, then you get points for both words.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, we just didn't play that one. We played other things, but it wasn't Scrabble.
Well, now next time I come over to your house, we're gonna play
You're
Scrabble.
gonna teach me how?
We're gonna play Scrabble. Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun.
Well, I liked what you said about the value part. Like when you think about playing Scrabble, obviously there must be it's very strategic to do certain letters
Yes.
and get more points. So,
Yeah.
But it made me, that's a great analogy, just a visual, like, visual? No, not, it's visual in my mind. Does that count as
Well, I
visual?
mean, yeah, it's
It's mental, it's a great mental picture.
There you go.
For building value with your words. And I thought that was a cool analogy.
like quintuple, right?
Right, that's not a word.
Sure it is. It's a word.
Okay.
It's not.
Whatever you say, Michael.
All right. So, so words have power. Words, we speak them, and when we use words, we're literally creating something out of nothing. So we have these thoughts, these processes, and we're creating, and they have value, like what you just said. And so, because of that, words have so much value. They have so much power. They can hurt or heal. All those things that we talked about. And so what I want to know from everybody who's watching today is what are your questions? Now, there are several things in my notes that I wanted to get to that we just don't, in 20 or 25 minutes on a Sunday, we just don't have time to get to. And so, one of the things I didn't touch a whole lot on is, the most important words, I said, what do? We write them down.
We
right?
type them.
Or we document them, so we record.
Uh-huh.
Now, who here has TikTok? Anybody have TikTok? You have TikTok?
No.
So my kids,
Do
yeah.
not.
Chuck's like,
My
heck
kids
no.
have TikTok.
Yeah, they talked me into getting
I
a
do not
TikTok.
have TikTok.
And what's interesting is that on TikTok, people don't even have their own words or voices. So what you do is you'll play something and you'll actually lip sync to somebody else either singing
And you're dancing, isn't it?
or
a
dancing, yeah, or
Like
something.
You're coming up with a routine and stuff.
Yeah, well, all kinds of, yeah, or there's a lot of, it's a mess. But I'm like, we've even lost, we don't even have our own voices anymore. Like, we literally find value in using other people's words, which I'm going to sound like an old person. I don't like, and I have some issues with. But my kids love it. They think it's fun. It's more of an entertainment thing. But it still is applicable because the most important words we record or we document in one way or another. And so it becomes important what we put out there. Now, one of the most, this might be a little controversial, but there's some very inappropriate songs out there right now that young children will then repeat.
Not knowing what they're saying.
Yeah, there's TikToks just for people to watch, to look at their response when a younger person is like lip syncing these super inappropriate lyrics, right? And I'm just like, oh my gosh,
Oh, no.
what are we coming to that we don't even have our own voices, and the things that we are saying and we are doing, they're not helping, they're not healing, they're not contributing. And of course, we're coming up on the political season. We're not coming up on. We're in the midst of the political season. It's not just an election year. Everything in our culture, I've seen a shift just in the last 10 years. A lot of things have always been political, but it doesn't matter what. You can say, remember the dress that was blue or yellow?
Yeah.
Or shoes. What was it, dress?
No, there was a dress.
Yeah.
What else? There was something else that was going back and forth.
Well, so there's this new one where you hear either green slime or, I don't know, it's another voice, and whatever you read, you hear. And I am like, but we take anything, and instead of having a healthy dialogue, we just make it political. Oh, well, that's the right, or that's the left, or that's the progressive, or that's conservative. And it just feels so contentious right now, and instead of having a healthy dialogue, I think it seems like we just want to fight, right? We want to have those arguments. And this is where our words come into play, right? I mean, you mentioned earlier, like in the digital world, when a lot of our communication is happening digitally. It was before COVID, but it's really happening now in the midst of COVID. And so, like, what are we putting out there? I have friends that are like, I'm getting off Facebook. I can't take all the negativity. And I'm like, no. We need your positive voice. Be an influencer. Be a positive voice.
I've been there where it's just so overwhelming that I'm like, all right, I need a break. Like,
right.
I don't know. But it's like that digital world, now that we can't get face to face as much, has become people's sort of platform. It was before, but now it's even worse.
Right.
It's like, I wonder if anybody has stories. This is dangerous. If anyone has stories about
you have some political stories you want to share?
No, no. But like digital battles, right? Like it's like we have these surface level relationships with people online. Like you would not call those people up.
Right,
like,
and
you
say
don't
the same
know
things.
them well enough to call them up.
Right.
So instead, of having these kinds of political discussions with people who you're in a trusted, deep relationship with, where you each know, like, I can give you the benefit of the doubt because I know you,
right.
So we can have that dialogue and disagree and all that. But when you don't know the people, it's really super easy just to say
whatever you want. Behind a desk, not in front of them. Well, and so that brings up the point of, in order to speak into somebody's life, right? So if words have power, and the words we use influence those around us, they influence us, then you have to earn that right to speak into somebody's life. Now, you can voice your opinion. Don't hear me wrong. We have every right to voice our opinions. But when we get to these debates in a digital manner...
Oh, I've seen some mean things.
And then we demonize people. But you don't... So what I would say to somebody, how I encourage... And I've done it. So just so, for the record, I've done it. So I've been that person, Friday night, a couple drinks in, and you're like... right? I mean, allegedly there are people who do stuff like that. And so... and I'm one of them. And so, like, you just get caught up in, this is ridiculous. That's BS, right? And then you're just like, I'm not going to stand for that. I'm going to fix this problem, and I'm going to do it from my phone. And what do? You just fuel the fire. And often you do that. You don't do it with the people who are close to you, right? It's always like the acquaintance
the
that you kind of...
kind of know. But like I said, you wouldn't actually call this person up.
Right, not French people. Fringe people, yeah.
Matt.
Allison hates the French.
No.
Sorry.
Fringe, like your outer circle, maybe not your inner circle.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But that's where I find people are just like, and it is rare. Now, on occasion, I've seen it happen, but it's rare to see actual progression of conversation and of dialogue and of reasoning, via this venue. Now, there are some people that it can happen, but the norm is we just want to attack and fight. And I'm going to keep telling you all, you have to earn the right to speak into somebody's life in that manner. And when I say earn that right, what I really mean is it's pointless. You're doing more harm than good, in my opinion, when you don't have a relationship with somebody, when you can actually dialogue back and forth. Also, in a digital format. So I didn't get to this Sunday either, but what is half of, I hate the fact that we have to do this and you can't see all of our facial expressions, right? Like the eyes don't lie.
It's body language.
Right, yes, yeah, it's the way. So two things, the way we say it, and then how do we interact, right? Is there a smile on their face? Are they joking? What exactly do they mean by that? What is their voice inflection? There was a study in the 60s that like 80% of all communication was nonverbal. Now there's been some challenges to that, but we know that at least some portion of communication is nonverbal. And if it's even half of all communication is nonverbal, you lose all of that in a digital platform. And so it just becomes this, it always seems worse. We've all had those texts. Even
where you read into it.
Or your spouse or your kids, right?
Yeah.
Why are you being such an a-hole, right? It's like, can I say a-hole? I can say a-hole.
No one would ever say that to you.
Not to me, I'm saying about other people, right? And so...
Chuck, is anyone commenting? Are they telling their bad stories or anything?
No real stories. Sean knows nothing about having some drinks on Friday night and commenting. Ashley says she likes to type things out and then erase it.
Yeah.
Hey, that's safe. As long as you don't accidentally...
The 24-hour rule.
Hit the send button.
Right? If something gets you... what I read the other day, if your heartbeat is over 78 beats a minute or something, don't quote me on that, but over a certain rate, that means you're in an...
You're worked up.
You're escalated, and then your brain goes limbic, right? Into the limbic system. And you are incapable of a completely rational thought at that point. So if you feel your heart rate increase and you're pounding those keys away, just type it out, but don't send it. Like don't hit enter, right? If there's something tugging at you. Now I believe that we're all connected, right? We call this the Holy Spirit, something that connects us. We can't quite describe it. I believe that there is a mechanism within us that's like going off when we go to hurt somebody else and to type these things. And so growing up, what do we call it? The still small voice, right? Listen to the still small voice.
We should make an Apple Watch app that tells you when your heart rate is too high to email people and text people.
No, it just blocks you out of email. You can't,
or
social media.
Disables it.
If your heart rate's over 78, you're done. It shuts you out.
That is $1 million idea.
Boom, high five, air high five.
Yep.
Come on, that's a good app.
It is.
$1 million idea.
It would save us a lot of heartache.
It really would. We could fund a lot of ministry at the church with that, right? We just sell the app for $1 a piece and millions of people would buy it.
One of the things is like your intention, and you always have to check your intention because there's just this inside, deep down, if you're being honest with yourself, what your
if you're right?
Intention is.
But what if you're right?
What do you mean, what if you're right?
But if you're right, you're right. You can just say it.
Well, that's what we do. We
I'm playing devil's advocate.
We feel like we must educate the other person. To see how right we are, right? And then that way they're better because they've been told the truth, right? And we'll do that at all costs. We'll shove our perspective down each other's throats just to win and be heard.
Well, the world isn't lacking knowledge, right? So if we say education, and I always encourage people to educate yourselves. So you should be educated. So if you're going to make an argument, at least know what you believe. Even if we disagree, at least know what you believe. But education in and of itself doesn't fix anything. Education can be education on any side of an issue. What changes hearts and minds, so this is what we're talking about, influencing, changing hearts and minds, is relationship. So you can have all the education in the world, you can know everything about any side of any subject, but you're not going to cross that aisle or come to understand until you know or meet somebody. I grew up learning that, I grew up in a church that was fairly racist and homophobic, okay? And so I grew up, and I had a pastor say to me one time that if you were black, it was a curse on their skin. Like there's something in their Bible that tells them that, and so they'll be healed of that in heaven. I'm like, oh, you don't know any science, okay? And oh, so wrong. And also a lot of homophobia. And so until and then you meet people who are a part of the LGBT community. You meet people who are Hispanic or black, and you meet these people, and you're like, this is that theology, that ideology is the most ridiculous thing. And through relationship, I began to heal from that. Meaning, I was broken, and I thought very differently about certain groups of people. And through relationship with people, it changed my perspective and my outlook. And trust me, there were plenty of people telling me I was wrong, and all this other stuff, and that never influenced me. It just didn't. But relationship with somebody, being interactive and becoming friends and talking, that's really what changes a person, I think, when we talk about hearts and minds. And, really it's hard, because head knowledge doesn't fix a thing. You can have all the head knowledge education in the world, without the relationship, without having an emotional or empathetic,
Right.
right? Hearing somebody's story, empathizing, relating to it. Without that,
Right, and it's only when I truly care about you and your well-being that I will seek to understand your experience and perspective.
right?
Otherwise, it's just, I want to show you mine. Like, I want to show you my perspective. I don't care about learning about yours.
You just
Because
want
I
to be
don't
right.
know you, I don't care about you, you know.
Well, and let's talk about biologically what's happening in this, right? So we often, I think we are, victim is a bad, we are tied to our biology because within our biology is these mechanisms, these reward systems that when we're right, you know, a little hit of dopamine, right? Or when we, you know, it's like, people ever tell you you're addicted to your phone, like that little ding, you know, goes off. Remember when AOL had email? Ding, you got mail.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, what
Made
that
you feel
used to
important.
represent. Yeah. Now you're like, oh God, no. Like I don't want to no more email. But at the time it meant something, right? Like, ooh, that's cool. It's like somebody's trying to contact me. And so there's this little hit of dopamine. And I think scientifically the same thing happens. When we vent or do something, there's something in our reward system. Now, the reward system is when we're trying to fight injustice and protect other people, the brain rewards us for protecting others, right? I believe we are created, we're built that way. But we can manipulate that same hormone that goes off in our brain, and just by saying certain words without actually protecting anybody, right? Without actually investing in a relationship, without actually getting real results, the brain can still reward you in a certain way. And so we have this false sense of that when we do certain things, we're being biochemically rewarded for it, so it becomes a pattern and a behavior. And then why do we do it? We're no longer doing it to protect the vulnerable or those who are marginalized. We're doing it to get the hit of dopamine, right? To make ourselves feel better.
It's about you.
Yeah. I mean, that's true with anything in life, right? I mean, even serving other people. I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent there, but I mean, in life. Here's one, going to church. Why do we go to church, Allison?
Yeah, your intentions matter, right?
It's what you said. You started this conversation off with that.
Yeah.
It's about why are we here? Are we here at church to check it off the list and make us feel good because there's some supernatural being that's going to be happy if we do it? I mean, that's not the reason, but I think in the back of our head, some of us do that. And then there is a reward system. I went to church today. Ooh, that feels a little bit good, right? Instead of, no, there's a community of people who want to make a difference. And we have the capability to come together, to learn, to talk, to build relationships, to influence, to make real life change, and help people along a path that's more inclusive, that can make life easier, right? That's different than I just go to church to whatever. And I don't mean to get on a soapbox about that, but it's the same thing. It's all the same mechanisms. The why are we doing a thing?
I think it's become like a justice thing, and we pat ourselves in the back that if we attack this issue on Facebook with these people that we don't know, that somehow we're doing something. And I would argue
sense of accomplishment.
Yes, I would argue that your words to these people that you don't know and you're not in a context of a loving relationship isn't necessarily going to change their mind. So what are you doing? You're just arguing?
Or putting it out there to make yourself feel better about it.
Yeah, not changing anything really.
Yeah.
You're just arguing.
Instead of, we talk about social justice issues, right?
Yeah.
Jesus was a social justice person. Social justice meaning stuff like feeding, the hungry, clothing the naked, taking care of the orphan and the widow, right? And, Jesus addresses all these things. And social just means all the social aspects of life. And justice means that things are equal amongst all, right? That everybody has the same opportunity. So that in our social systems, we all can come together at the same. This is why we do this at a table, right? The table is one of those things that when we're around it, especially a round table.
It equalizes everybody.
We're all the same.
Right.
When we come together to eat at a table, we're all the same. And there is not one that is better. I mean, this is the whole point of communion. This is why Jesus did this, and we also have conversations around tables, right? Hashtag table talk. And so, anything? We got anything, Chuck? Chuck's like, no. Nobody's saying things today.
This is a
What questions do you have?
Yeah.
So when we're having conversations, what are the things you struggle with? What are the things that you're dealing with? How can we help maybe speak life into, speak positivity into situations? Give me some stuff. Is there anything that anybody's struggling with? We'll wait. Can we just stare at each other, Allison? Let's just turn, hi guys.
That's so awkward. But to spin it to the positive, like we've been talking a lot about what not to do, but
right.
But you can be so intentional with your words and really impact someone for the better. And that's the part is hard. Like how do we become intentional about that every day, where it's not just things fly out of our mouths, willy-nilly, and hope I don't hurt someone's feelings. But how can we do things intentionally, say things intentionally to build people up? Because we need that right now.
So I think there's a couple things. One, so I'm talking about prayer for a minute, because prayer, I grew up, a prayer was God and Jesus were Santa Claus, and I asked for things. I mean, they just were.
You had your wish list.
As a kid, you wrote the thing, and we did. We were encouraged to write things down. And those, I mean, it's not bad to pray for things, because, but the words we use in this conversation that we interact with God, right, with this thing that is holy and good and loving, like the words we use, really, I believe what we're doing is prayer aligns us with something greater. Instead of asking the greater thing to change itself and to accommodate us, right? And I love America, I love individuals, but individualism, this idea that our wants and needs are more important than the collective or than the whole or than somebody else's, right? And so we pray that this thing will make our lives better. Instead of saying our prayers maybe should be, how can we contribute to making somebody else's life better? Mm-hmm. And so I believe, I start my day every day with what I would call prayer. Sometimes it's verbal every morning when I sit down, and even in front of a camera, but my prayer every morning is, I'm going to meet people today. And I hope in my interactions, I have the ability, I hope I can make one life just a little bit better today, right? So then we use words like, God, use me how you will. Jesus encouraged us to say, thy kingdom here on earth, right, as it is in heaven. Like, help us to be something. So those words, I think, are important, because that starts, and I think every day. I'm a morning person. Maybe you pray at night, in the morning, whatever. I'm a morning person. Let our words, right, let our words out of our mouth bless those around us. And it starts by saying it, by speaking it into existence. Because it begins to get our minds thinking and becoming aware.
Well, there's research out there about the way your brain encodes things.
Correct. And
it's different to just think it than it is to hear it auditorily and just the physical speaking, like the way your mouth
You know something about this stuff.
Well, it's, the background, the audiology, speech pathology, kind of go into all that a little bit, but it's like it's not like, I don't believe in the whole like word faith thing, like.
Well, yeah, and I'm careful with when I say stuff like that.
There's a website, and it's like the way, or what is it called, where people believe that you can just speak things and they just happen, and it's like things come back to you. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, that karma kind of, right?
Yeah.
Ish. Yeah, so I use words like
that.
speak them into existence, and what I mean by that is when we speak and hear them, it trains ourselves to be aware, to think about them.
It makes us think differently.
I believe, so I would call that, we're trying to expand our consciousness, right? We're trying to expand our awareness of what's going on around us. So when I say speak into existence, not the same kind of speak into existence, like I can make it happen. But what I mean is, when we say it, we're programming ourselves. And there is something in psychology about self-fulfilling prophecy. When you say and do things, this is why negative self-talk it's important to not participate in that, right? I have a lot of teenagers in my house, and when I hear things, right, when they say stuff like I'm ugly or I'm this or that, I'm always like, hey, let's talk about that for a minute. Don't. And when I use the word like, don't put that out there, meaning, don't say that to let yourself hear, because what will happen is you'll eventually believe it.
You give it some reality in your mind when you say it.
And not just negative things, like people who struggle with not telling the truth. Right? Mm-hmm. If you speak something eventually you'll start believing.
You'll believe that it's true.
You'll believe your own crap.
Right?
That's right. And we talk about sin and ego and self. What do? We talk about self and eventually we start to believe our own crap. Mm-hmm. This is why I'm such good friends with Allison, is because she doesn't let me do that. She tells me how much of a horrible person I am. And so
I just remind you, no, that's crap, Michael.
She's like, humility, Michael.
That came from you.
You're an idiot. Okay.
Who's old enough to remember Saturday Night Live? And was it Stuart Smalley?
Yes.
He's staring in the mirror, saying his positive affirmations.
And doggone it, people like
me.
I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and God don't hurt me.
Yes, that's the one.
Got it. But there is some truth to like the positive mindset, and you hear those words, and then it's in your brain. And the alternative to that is ruminating on the negative. And that it's a spiral in the way you feel. And so, yeah.
Those of you, I know, a lot of you have reached out during this time, and I know there are a lot of you who are watching who you struggle with self-image, you struggle with maybe it's body image, maybe it's however you see yourself, and maybe you struggle with depression and feeling worth. And what I want to say to you right now is that what we're talking about today, I want you to listen, because there is something. Take us out of it. We love you. We want you to be a part of something. But there is something out there that loves you, that accepts you, that includes you just the way you are. Regardless of how you see yourself, there's something that loves you. Now, we call that thing God. And that it's very inclusive, and it just loves us. We're good enough, right? And if you're struggling with this, I hope one of the things you hear today is the words that you're using, that if you could try to use different words when you're speaking about self and others, that if this is something you struggle with, I hope you know that can help change the way you think about yourself and see yourself. That eventually, I'm looking at a mirror right now, right over there, and when I look in that mirror, and there are days when I wake up and I look in that mirror, I've been open about this, I struggle with my weight, I struggle with self-image and body image a lot, and there are days I look at myself and I go, oh, I have to go be in front of you all today, I have to go be in front of camera. And I can either allow myself to go down that path, or I can stop that and say, I know there's people, and I know there's a God that loves me the way I am, chubby and all, and that sometimes, we joke about Stuart saying those things, but there is something in that to be able to look at yourself and to say, you know what, in that mirror I see somebody who's beautiful, who is amazing, and who is loved. And I hope that if you hear nothing else today, that you hear those words from us, because, I mean, how many of us struggle with these thoughts in our heads of we're not good enough, or I don't like you name it, right?
Well, it's so easy to completely fixate on the couple of things that are your biggest insecurities. And a lot of people don't notice those things, they notice your strengths. But it's so hard to focus on your strengths. I think we're kind of told, be humble, be this, be that. So it's hard to, want to pump yourself up. So instead we go the opposite extreme, and we just focus on the one or two things that are our worst parts. We all have the worst in us that we don't want to expose, but that's what we think about all the time.
Because that's what we see, right?
Yeah.
Like that nipple on your back that I have.
Oh my God!
I was listening to a comedian and she was talking about that. No, Mike, it's just a big zit. No. But here's what I'll say about that. What time is it?
12:28.
Okay. Here's what I want to say about that. So the way we see ourselves, I believe that when we see ourselves negatively, when we speak negatively, when we focus on those things, it bleeds over into other relationships. And we begin to see the negativity in others, or we begin to see their bad parts, right? Because when we see ourselves, right, Jesus encourages us to love others like self. There's this idea that we have to see that we have intrinsic value and that we are loved. And if we can't figure that out, it's really hard then to share that love with those around us. And so I think this is crucial in our conversations, that the conversation starts with us first. And I believe that can start with a prayer every single morning. God, help me to see that I am loved and I have value, and help me to see and know that there are people around me who struggle like me, who need to hear the words that I am loved, accepted, and included. And I think that a very tangible thing is that's a simple prayer that all of us can say in the morning.
It's like we just need an awareness.
Yes.
Sometimes I just go through and plow through, and I don't even think, I'm not aware of the things that are popping out of my mouth, or the thoughts that I am centering everything on all day. I don't know, it's just an awareness. I don't intentionally say that prayer sometimes.
When we get stuck on our stuff, right? We see our own pain and our hurt, and we see our own flaws, and then it stops us, and we just stop there. And I think when we only see our pain and flaws, and I'll be honest, I go back and watch these, right? And I'm like, Allison is so beautiful and she looks so great. I'm like, who is this?
No, I
do. And I'm always really insecure with my waist, and I'm always trying to sit up straight, right?
But girls are the same way. I do the same thing. I'm constantly tugging and pulling.
Right?
And then why do I do that? Because it's insecurity about whatever, I don't know.
But it's ridiculous. That's not why we're here. We're here to help spread some love and to say we love you guys, and I hope you know that. Instead, I get stuck in my own world, and I get stuck on my own self and my own self-image. And I don't know. I don't want to keep beating that horse necessarily, but I hope you know, and that you are loved. There's something that makes you great and amazing, and I just want all of you to see it today. And if that helps hearing it from us, I hope you hear that. I hope you can say that prayer. And are we at time already?
It's 12:30 on the dot.
Okay. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, I mean, this is inspiring me to to set some time aside. I'm not the best in the morning. I'm really not. I'm lucky if I even catch your mornings with Mike. And then I forget later in the day. And honestly, I'm sometimes the worst about remembering to say those kinds of prayers, just to realign my own perspective and thoughts. And I think that would be half the battle. So take a little time every day just to try to center your mind on the things that are good, right, noble. What's that verse? I love that.
Oh,
verse.
yes, I
You know
know.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And set your intention that way.
Let's end in prayer today.
Okay.
I don't always do that here, but prayer has value. So if you're not a prayer, don't let this be weird. You can tune out. That's fine. But those of you who want to, when I pray, sometimes I like to do this. I like to open my hands, and it's this idea of vulnerability, and that maybe I can be open and receptive to the things around me. So if you want to pray with me, God, we struggle. We struggle with our words. We struggle to see the good, often just in ourselves. God, today, I'm praying for those people who are watching right now who may feel less than, who may not feel good enough, who may be struggling with whatever it is. God, help us to know that our words have power. And God, that you can help us with that, but most importantly, we can change that reality, meaning we can influence how we see ourselves, God. And really what we're trying to do is see ourselves the way you see us and to see those around us the way you see us. So God, help us with that one task. And God, as we become aware of how you see us and that we are loved, help us to then spread that around to those who need to hear that same thing. So I want to pray for all those people. We love you. Amen.
Amen.
Have a great day. May your talks at your table this week be good words,
Yeah.
helpful words, valuable words, healing words. Peace.